Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a serial killer known as the Golden State Killer. This case, actually, I have been obsessed with for a while now. He raped at least 50 women and murdered at least 13 people. He started out being known as the East Area Rapist, and he was raping, I think he was going out and raping women like 1 to 2 times a week. And he would only rape women that were home alone or lived alone. And the community was really upset and scared about this. So they started having community meetings to learn about safety. In one of these meetings, a guy stood up and said, if you're home with your wife and you have a gun, there's no way this guy can rape your wife and get away with it. Well, I guess that guy was in the meeting and he didn't like what that guy said, because a couple of months later, that guy and his wife was the East Area Rapist next victim. And this time, of course, he goes in with him and his wife there. He has a gun. He orders the wife to tie up her husband, and then he goes in the kitchen and he gets plates and teacups and puts them on the husband's back and says, if I hear these move, you're both dead. He takes the wife into another room and rapes her, while the husband has to listen to that, and there's nothing he can do. After this, it is always a man and a woman when he goes into a house, and he always has the same MO, where he puts the plates and the teacups on the man and rapes the woman. But then a couple get away, and after that, he starts murdering his victims by either shooting them or bludgeoning them to death. His youngest victim was a 12-year-old girl who was obsessed with reading the newspaper articles about the East Area Rapist, aka Golden State Killer, and then she herself became a victim of the Golden State Killer, which I find pretty bizarre. He did seem to really watch these people. He stalked his victims very well and knew exactly what they were doing and when to get into their house. He would also stay in their house for hours. One woman says that he was in her kitchen cooking eggs and ate eggs and dug through her things before leaving. So he would stay in his victims' houses after raping them for a few hours. So he felt very comfortable in their house. It turns out that he lives in the same area where most of these rapes happened and murders, and he has pretty much all of his life, and he's lived in the same house he's in now since 1980. So, as usual, like it usually is, serial killers usually just live among us, and we have no idea that they're serial killers. He wasn't even on the radar. He was married to an attorney, but they have been separated for a few years, I believe. They had 3 children that are now grown, and when he was arrested, he was living with his grown daughter and a grandchild. And thank God he is caught. He is 72-year-old Joseph James DeAngelo. And I'm just so glad for the victims that he's caught. When they had to give a description of him and everything that happened, they all said that he had a very small penis. And a lot of the victims said he had a micro penis. He even sodomized one of his victims, at least one of them, and she said that he was so small that it didn't even hurt. So if that gives you any idea. And it also makes me wonder if it had anything to do with why he was raping women in the first place. I have no idea. What really baffles me is that he did this from 1976 to 1986. And like I said, he would call the police and say he was going to go out that night. He would call his victims and threaten to kill them. But then after 10 years of this, he just stopped. You know, a lot of people speculate that he died or he's in prison and they don't have his DNA. But this reminds me of the BTK killer, and I used to follow that story also. And I remember thinking he was most likely dead. And when he got arrested in 2005, it just made me think that the Golden State Killer was still out there, still alive, and probably watching every news article or news thing or reading the news articles about him and enjoying it. I really have no idea. There's really not a lot out. People did speculate that he was maybe a police officer, which it turns out that he was a police officer between the years of 1973 and 1979. But in 1979, He was fired after he was caught stealing a hammer and dog repellent from a drugstore. So I don't know what that was about, but he was fired after that. And before that, he had been in the Navy and he was in the Vietnam War. People said that when they would see him, he could scale the fences. He could get away from people so easy, that he was very athletic and very good shape. They said he seemed to be in his early 20s, and he would talk about having mommy issues and start crying sometimes in the middle of trying to rape one of his victims. And I see here in his court hearing, he's in a wheelchair. I'm really not sure why, because neighbors said that he was outside working in his garage the day that he was arrested, and it just didn't sound like he really needed to be in a wheelchair, so I'm not sure why he needs to be now. But anyway, I am so glad that he has been caught. There is so much to this case. I will probably do a follow-up video just for some more information, because there's just so much information about this guy. Just how meticulous he was to get away. He's one of the biggest serial killers in U.S. history. And from the time that he started doing this until the time he was arrested was 42 years. And I'm just over the moon that he's been caught. And if I'm this happy, just imagine how his victims are, how happy they are. I mean, I seen them on TV, and some of them were crying and still living in fear after all of these years, because they never knew if he would come back or if they would see him in a grocery store. They were always worried that he was still in the area, and he's actually been in the area this whole time. So he was in the area. And it's just crazy to think that someone can do everything he did and get away with it. He has a degree in criminal justice. He was a cop. I think that he had won some awards, but obviously when he got caught stealing a hammer and dog repellent, he was fired. So after that, I believe he was a mechanic, and that, I haven't heard a lot. I know some neighbors called him Crazy Joe, but that's because he was older. A lot of people liked him, but said that he had a temper. And I think sometimes with older people, you just kind of overlook that. But from his neighbors are all really shocked that this guy is the East Area Rapist, also known as the Golden State Killer. Anyway, I know I'm just going on and on about it, but I'm just ecstatic that he's caught. And I will do an update video, and hopefully I will put it together and make it make more sense. But I really just wanted to do a really quick video and let you guys know that he was arrested. If I didn't already say it, he was arrested Tuesday, April 24th around 4 p.m. at his home. He was booked early Wednesday on April 25th. And again, I'm just so happy that he's caught. And I'm not happy that he got all of this time out of prison, to live a regular life and be married and have children. But at least it's over now. And now I just want to hear what happened. Why 10 years, and then why did you stop? I'm thankful that he did stop. But why? Usually they don't stop until they're caught. So, and what does he think about the media talking about the fact that all of his victims said he had a micro penis? That's what they all said. That's what's out there. So I'm putting it out there because I think he deserves it. And I've heard a little bit about this story, and I haven't heard anyone mention that other than on the documentaries that I watched. So I thought I would throw that out there again. Thank you guys for watching my video. I will put another one together later. There's so much on this guy. I mean, if you can imagine 10 years of this and then taking 42 years to be arrested, there's a lot of info out there. So I just want to put a quick video together. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys very soon. And I promise I won't wait 5 months for the next video. See you guys later. Peace.
That huge break in a cold case terrorizing California for decades. Police say they now have the Golden State Killer in custody.
And they used DNA testing to find him. So many families are relieved this morning.
The killer accused of murdering at least 12 people, sexually assaulting more than 50. 72-year-old Joseph James DeAngelo, former police officer, family man who is hiding in plain sight in suburban Sacramento.
He was physically fit, and every victim said he had a short penis, a real small penis. Real small penis. Real small penis.